Welcome to the Scotland Shop on the sofa with Anna and Monja. This is our very first kilt masterclass. I'm Anna, founder of Scotland Shop, and with 18 years experience in the industry, hopefully I'll be able to answer all of your questions this evening. Hello to those who've joined us. I know we've got people already from France, Germany and the States, so hello, good evening, thanks for joining us. And over to Monja, who is virtually with me here.
Hi, I'm Monja and I work in our amazing Edinburgh shop that Anna's in currently. I studied fashion here in Scotland, so I do a lot of measuring appointments in the shop and can help out with fabrics and sizing and things like that.
So in Scotland we're really well known for our kilts, but there is a lot more to kilts and tartan than simply looking good. And today we thought we would share with you a little bit of the history behind this very Scottish piece of clothing, and where it came from, how it's evolved through the ages, and also on to the modern kilt today, how to wear it, all the accessories that make up a Highland Wear outfit. So if you've got any questions, just send them in and we will answer them as we go or at the end as we can fit them in.
Right, so in Scotland, the kilt is quite often a 21st birthday gift, and that's partly because it's such a special Scottish outfit, and it does last somebody their whole life. So it's quite often given as a 21st present, and then it sees somebody the rest of their lives, basically. Traditionally, somebody would choose their family tartan as their kilt, but quite often in the shop we get people coming in and they just choose their favourite. And because we've got over 500 tartans, then the chances are we can find your perfect colour combination within that. So kilts are often worn to special occasions like weddings, and they're great for dancing at ceilidhs. And they're very popular all over the world now, although they are actually a historic piece of clothing originating in the Scottish Highlands. So the modern knee-length pleated piece of tartan wool that's wrapped around the waist and fastened with buckles is what most people recognise today as a kilt. But Anna can tell you a bit more about the traditional old styles of kilt.
So the kilt was originally a 5-metre piece of cloth, and it was known as a Feileadh Mòr, and the Feileadh Mòr is Gaelic for the a big kilt. And it was worn, you wrapped it round yourself and secured at the waist with a belt and over the shoulder. I think Emily's posted a picture there for you to see, and pinned on the shoulder. It's not the easiest thing to do, but if you've got 5 metres of cloth and you fancy a challenge, then there's some really brilliant videos on YouTube as well which can guide you in how you wrap yourself up into the special knack of wrapping yourself up and making your kilt out of the fabric.
So in 1746, the Dress Act was introduced, which actually made Highland wear, so kilts and kilt outfits, illegal in the Highlands. And this was after the Jacobites rebelled against the English and lost at the Battle of Culloden. So it was sort of a punishment for the Highlanders that they weren't allowed to wear their traditional dress. But this is when the Black Watch Regiment was set up to keep peace in the Highlands. And that's where the very popular Black Watch tartan came about as well. So, Anna, what happens when we ban something?
Well, of course, when you ban something, it only makes them more popular, and tartan went underground, and Highland dress, when Highland dress was banned in 1782, sorry, excuse me. And then in 1782, the ban was lifted. I do apologise. And it became very fashionable, and we've got King George IV to thank largely for this. He was a real leader in developing tartan as a fashionable thing to wear amongst the middle classes, the upper middle classes and the aristocracy. He had a real influence, and he came up to Edinburgh and with the help of Sir Walter Scott, they arranged a spectacular procession that was in 1822 through the streets of Edinburgh, and it was led by the Highland chiefs. And King George, he loved his tartan so much that he even had a portrait of himself wearing a kilt painted, which I think you can see on screen now as well. And Queen Victoria then continued the royal approval of all things tartan in Scotland, and she wore tartan in official portraits during her annual visits to Balmoral. Monja is our resident fashion expert, and fashion graduate. So Monja, how did all of this then translate into the modern tartan that we see today?
Well, modern tartan fashion, there are many different designers who use it and in many different ways, but two of the most influential, I would say, are Vivienne Westwood and Alexandra McQueen. So Westwood began using tartan, so originally the really bright Stuart Royal tartan, which is really bright bold red, in some of her early punk designs. Before she began using maybe the more hunting, muted tartans, maybe a weathered, with traditional tailoring and draping. So she was really inspired by reinterpreting traditional British dress and textiles, which is why she went with the tartan and the tailoring. And Alexander McQueen, I think that's the image you can see on screen, he quite often used his own McQueen tartan, which he designed and actually had a lot of his fabric woven up here in Scotland. So he often used it to reference his own Scottish ancestry as well as Scottish history, such as the Battle of Culloden that we spoke about earlier and the Jacobites. So he liked really big, bold, dramatic designs. So Anna being in the shop and having access to all our beautiful kilts, I think can demonstrate for us how to put one on. I think she's gone just now. Okay, sorry, I think we're having a few technical difficulties, so I can just tell you a little bit more about our kilts. So the kilt, we quite often get asked in the shop, people are very keen to get their first kilt, but quite often have never worn one before. So I think if we can get Anna back, then she can show us how to put one on, because that is something that I show people most of the time, really, especially with the first time wearers or people coming in for their 21st kilt. Go. There we
Anna
go.
back.
Got Anna back. Perfect.
I'm so sorry about that. We seem to have lost me temporarily, which maybe is a bonus. But the joys of trying to present during COVID-19 with Monja isolated at home and me in the shop trying to operate various technical devices. So do apologise. I can now demonstrate how to put the kilt on if you like, Monja. Do you want to talk us through it and I'll...
Okay. So the kilt is basically one long piece of fabric, and the pleated section in the middle goes towards the back. There we go. And then you bring one side round the front, and there's a small hole in the side of the kilt that allows you to thread your buckle through, and then you can fasten that to the side. So all of our buckles have got several different holes, so that allows you to fasten it to your comfort. We always measure the kilts quite tight because you don't want them to fall down, but it also allows you to grow with your kilt and it will last you a lot longer that way. Then you bring the other side round, the flat part, which is called the apron, and that's got the two buckles on the side, one at the waist and one at the hip. And again, you can just fasten those to your comfort, just as Anna's doing. That's it. So it's quite simple when you know how, but it can be very difficult when it's your first time. It's quite daunting. There we go. And it sits quite high. It's a lot higher than a lot of people realise when they first wear it, I think. It gives them quite a bit of a fright and then they realise how comfortable it is and they're quite open to it by the end of trying it on, I would say. So we've got a few different kinds of kilts as well in the shop. So we've got a traditional one, which Anna's got there. That's the Scotland Forever tartan. So the traditional kilt is 8 yards of fabric and it's 16-ounce wool, so it's really heavy. The 8 yards of fabric you can see in the pleats.
Just demonstrate how heavy it was.
Very kilt. So the pleats are really deep, which is great for when you're dancing. It allows a lot of swing and a lot of movement, which is really nice. So then we also have a casual kilt. So this is our casual kilt in an Isle of Skye tartan. So this one's only 4 yards of fabric, so it's a lot less fabric in it, and it's 10-ounce wool, so it's very light. This one's really good if you just want a casual look, but it's also good if you live in a warmer climate. So this one, the pleats are shallower as well, so that's where the extra fabric comes in. There we go. And we also do an insert pleat kilt. So this one's quite a modern look, the one that Anna's holding. So it's all black, but then as you see in the pleats, as you move and as you walk, then you get little flashes of tartan. So that one you can combine with any colourways, any tartan that you like. So you can have your family tartan in the pleats, but then have the modern black on top, it's quite an interesting one.
I love the bit of fringing down the side as well. So you've got your little flash of tartan on the side too.
Which is always really nice. So we've got lots of people watching. We've got everyone from the US, France and Germany. So hello to everyone and thank you for joining us in our kilt session. So Anna has also got a few different accessories there with her. So there are lots of different elements that make up a kilt outfit. So we won't go into every single thing, but we have picked out a few of our favourites. So Anna's got a kilt pin there. We do clan crest kilt pins, so you can have your family crest on it to make your look really unique to you. But we also do sort of non-specific ones to clans. So we've got some antique kilt pins with a few different designs. So the kilt pin is worn 4 inches from the bottom of your kilt and then 2 inches in from the fringing at the side. And that just goes on the front apron, the top layer of fabric, and it basically weights down your kilt and to hopefully stop it blowing up in the wind. That's it. So we also have, I think we did have a sweater there, which is quite nice to wear with your casual kilt, like the Isle of Skye one that we had. And that's really good for even going to a rugby match, if you're feeling really patriotic and want to get in the Scottish mood. A sweater and your kilt is a really good look, and it's just a more casual way of wearing your kilt. You don't need to go for the full outfit every time. And I personally love really bright colours. So we've got some bright coloured socks there, which I always recommend to people that if you want to pick out maybe a brighter colour in your tartan, then to match your socks to that. So it all ties in together, but it's a really nice way to brighten up maybe if you've got a darker tartan. And then Anna, on those socks, I think I've got tartan flashes. So you can match your flashes to your kilt, but then you can also have plain ones. I think Anna's got right there.
Yeah, so you can have a plain colours, lots of different colours, so you can tie into one of the stripes on your kilt. And these are on an adjustable garter strap. So you just pop them, pull your socks up, pop them round just below your knee, and then fold the sock down over the top. And there you have your flashes.
So another really traditional element of the kilt outfit is the sporran. So as you can see on the fully dressed mannequin, he's got a sporran, which is the leather bag, which is worn around the waist on a chain. And Anna's got one of our personal favourites there, which is the Highland sporran. And it's a really bold look, a statement piece. So if you're wanting something really out there that you're basically guaranteed no one else is going to have, then we recommend the Highland sporran.
So you can have quite a lot of fun with your sporrans. There's lots of different varieties and different styles. You can wear the traditional day wear, which is a leather sporran, and then as you move into the evening, then you add in the silver cantle and the more fancy designs. We did have a question from a customer earlier on asking what height you should wear your sporran at. So the rule of the thumb is to wear it a hand's width, no more than a hand's width below the waistband of your kilt, or 4 or 5 inches that usually equates to. So that's how high you should wear your sporran. You also, on the back of your kilt, will have a couple of loops here. So if you loop your sporran chain through the back, through those, and then fasten it, then that will also make sure your sporran hangs nice and squarely on the front.
Super. We go. So if you've got any questions, then feel free to ask us at any time. We did have one earlier. If somebody was asking, when is it best to wear fly plaid? Like, should you wear it every time you wear your kilt, or is it for special occasions?
So we've got one here on the mannequin, hopefully you can see it. So this is a bit of a throwback to the Feileadh Mòr, where the Great Kilt, where you take the final piece of cloth and pin it over your shoulder. So this is quite a formal piece that goes with the kilt, so normally we want to something like a wedding, and generally it would be the groom who wears that as the kind of most important gentleman at the wedding. And you just take it and tuck it underneath the strap on the shoulder of your jacket, of your Prince Charlie jacket or your Argyle jacket, and then it gets pinned just over the shoulder there.
Perfect. And we have another question, which I think Anna, as the big traveller with all of our American and Canadian pop-up shops, that you might know the best, is how should you care for your kilt?
So your kilt, well, as we said before, it's a pretty resilient piece of clothing and should last you a lifetime if you take care of it. So being wool, you really want to avoid cleaning it if you can, but obviously sometimes we have to. If you've got light stains on it, anything, if you've been to a bit of a wild party, then take a really soft brush, not a hard brush, and you should be able to just brush out any little marks on your kilt, and that'll keep the fabric nice. You can dry clean your kilt as well. Some kilt makers say no, but you can dry clean your kilt if you need to, and just use a dry cleaner who has a bit of experience with kilts with wool, and they will take care of it for you. The pleats, the pleats will remain. You won't lose the pleats. A well-made kilt doesn't lose its pleats. But if it gets crushed or you want to just press the pleats, then make sure you lay. You can use a proper pressing cloth if you want, but really, to be honest, a nice clean dish towel does the same job. Lay it over the top and then iron or press over that to get the crispness back into those. I think somebody was asking about travelling, weren't they, as well, Monja? So we do have, I'm not sure if you can see there, we do have a very professional kilt bag, which is quite hard to demonstrate, sorry. So basically the concept of the kilt bag is that you can roll up your kilt and it gets strapped in. I'm just going to move a little bit closer to the camera so that you can see. Is that a bit better? Now too close, sorry. Not very So you've got your kilt here rolled up and strapped into position. You've also got a space here for your sporran, a little pouch for your kilt pin and all the extras. And then we just zip it all up. And there you go, one kilt nicely there. And of course we can make it in any tartan for you. But that is obviously the fancy way of transporting your kilt. The less fancy way is simply to just roll it up. Roll it just long ways. And some people say they put theirs into their kilt socks, but I think that's not so easy to do. So tights are a great thing, a little bit strange, but that will then help keep your kilt together, and just pop that into your case. Take it out at the other end. It's a great fabric. The pleats, give it a good shake and hang it up, and it'll look good as new.
Perfect. So if anybody has got any other questions, then do feel free to ask us. But if you think of anything later on, you can always comment on this post or drop us an email, and we'll get back to you and try and answer your question to the best of our abilities. So I think next week we're going to be talking about sashes and wraps. Is that stoles?
Yes, sashes and stoles. So if you want to join us on the sofa again next week, 7 o'clock, we're going to talk you through, it's the turn of the ladies. So we'll talk about sashes and stoles and how to style and what to wear. So again, any questions, send us them in beforehand. If there's anything you want to see, do you want to see a particular tartan, do you want to, anything you want to see, just let us know and we'll try and incorporate that in to the conversation. But I think that's all the questions answered now. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much.